and I'll back up a little bit because my generation, I'm Gen X, by the way, smack dab in the middle. I think I actually opened that tweet with that acknowledgement, that land acknowledgement. Moses. We remember slavery in Egypt. We remember
Yes.
the world before the Red Sea. We actually remember the world before the presence of God had been brought back to Israel. But we can come to the top of the mountain. We can see the promised land, but we're not going to cross over into it. The Pharaoh generation is maybe the Joshua generation.
Yeah.
You're going to be crossing the river, and you're going to be entering it, but you're going to be fighting to establish that promised land. There is a war, right? To turn back to the beginning, there is a war, and there's all kinds of cool images there. And you probably should have the ark in this crossing, otherwise you will be capsized. Et cetera, et cetera. Let me just throw one little piece in before we hang up here. This is a challenge to the church. I this came to my mind because I was talking with one of my pastors about this yesterday. Education belongs in the church. That's it. So sorry, church, you have to. And I don't mean create a church version of a public school. What I mean is actually take on the task of education wholly, which probably looks a lot more like a homeschool co-op than anything else. So does, in the past, let's put it this way, in the past, real property was mostly the commons. Private property was relatively rare, in fact, quite rare. And crown property was the third category. So the king had property. Some people, mostly in towns, had private property. And everything else was in the commons, and it was governed by common law. The commons is the sacred. The commons is ultimately governed by the church, which is to say the commons, everything belongs to God. Right? This is all God's land. All of it is God's land. And therefore, the church must also recover, it must remember its capacity and responsibility for helping human beings govern the commons, to revive the commons, which is going to be this weird thing. Churches are going to have to help members of that church have a place to live. That actually is the case. And then we will find that the economy, the market, only makes sense in the context of the divine economy. So churches will have to set the context in which the economy is taking place so that the economy is properly ordered. This is a profound revival. Like, this is a wildly profound, and it's going to scare the heck out of Protestants because it's going to look a lot like the medieval magisterium. Yeah. Because that's the last time we had that. Right? The last time we actually had it. By the time Protestantism emerged, we were already exiting a world where the church was actually playing its proper role, but that actually is the proper role because, as we say, the sacred is more fundamental than the secular. Yeah. It is ultimately God's property. It's ultimately God's money. I'm living in God's house. Like, all of this is that way, and and this is the thing, we have to order it that fashion. Right? Yeah. It's not a matter of choice. It's a matter of that is actually how it has to be done. So this is a big punt. And if you want to, go back to people sword fighting over ecclesial issues, fine. Solve the problem of remembering a church that is capable of breathing life back into the commons and provisioning members of the church with right livelihood and with a way to live in a fashion that actually works. Then we can fight about what color hat the priests wear. How's that sound?
Yeah. And recognizing that something like beauty, I mean, you can go on about this for hours, but we can land the plane, but recognizing that creating beauty is an act of war in this frame that we're talking about, right?
That's really good. Spiritual warfare in a very beautiful way, a very powerful and confusing way. Who are you? What are your values? Like, if the end of the day, if to defeat you in war is to basically say, I now subordinate your values to my values, if I can get you to become confused about what your values are and to lose track of what you value or even what it means to value anything, then that's a perfectly great way to do it, and maybe actually much more effective than trying to blow you up.
Being a steward of beauty is an act of war. And I mean, in one sense, we're in a tough moment, but in another sense, like, I would say I prefer my act of war being to be a steward of beauty and a creator of beauty and trying to revivify my world in that way than having to storm Normandy. And risk getting shot in the face.
It's more fundamentally true, actually.
Yes.
Right? That's so actually more true.
Yeah, there is a gift in being alive in this moment. and having, I mean, look, Pajot is a great example of what he's doing with his stories. Like that is an act of war. He is
yes.
Yes.
He is a 5-star general.
Yes.
He's a brilliant wager of war.
Yep. I think that might be a good place to land.
Yep.
Jordan, thanks so much, man. This was a ton of fun.
Nice. Yeah, my pleasure.
Really enjoyed it. And just blessings to you and your family and your son's young life.